Hello, and we are back with What's Next with myself, Mike Draper. We have the Mr. Travis Holp here today to talk about all the things he's done, how he's grown his social following, his unique experiences with his clients, and anything and everything about him. So welcome, Travis.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Good. So I want to jump straight into it. Give us a little bit about what you do, who you serve. Yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, so I'm a psychic medium. And so if, people kind of aren't familiar with what that means is I tap into people's energies and energies beyond them and help them kind of work through their stuff. I think, there's this kind of misconception about psychics and mediums that, fortune tellers or, that old stereotype. But, psychics and mediums, we're here to help serve people any way that we can, and usually it's through that process of healing and reconnecting to self. So my clients range from people who are 18 and 19 and just kind of getting out in the world to people who are well down the path of life.
Yeah, so interesting. There's definitely I'm sure you know it way more than I do, the preconceived notion or maybe cliches or stigma, whatever word you want to use, about psychics, mediums, and that whole realm, right? So what are some common myths that are in that field?
I think the biggest thing is that, that we're here for fortune telling, and we're really not. It's kind of like, that kind of old stereotype of the woman and the tent at the fair that's turning your tarot cards like into a crystal ball, right? And really what we're here to do is help people through their journey, whatever that looks like for them. And I think, that stereotype of fortune telling, it's kind of easing up a bit, I think, as we have TikTok and Instagram and spiritual paths kind of becoming more and more mainstream and talked about. A lot of that's kind of fading, but I don't personally believe or prescribe to fortune telling. I believe that we create our future. I think that psychics and mediums, though, can be valuable on that journey because we can help people access parts of their energy that can be valuable in that creation process.
Yeah, no, I'm a big believer in what you just said as far as we create our own future. We are in control of, your daily actions and the things you choose to do, which then lead to things, right? Goals, targets, whatever you're aiming towards. And there's obviously some unknowns that'll happen along the way, opportunities or struggles or hurdles or whatever that you don't know you're going to encounter unless you go down that path, right?
Right.
So walk me through a typical, hey, Travis, I want to use your services. What do I do? What do you do? Day one.
Yeah, well, first I bust out my Ouija board, and no, I'm kidding.
Here we go.
Totally kidding. No, you know what? Every session is so different. What I will say is common in all of them is, I sit down and I start I kind of tell people how the session's going to go, which is really me just saying, I don't know how this is going to go, in a really professional way. And, and then I always like to ask my clients what's their intention for our time together, just so we can get in alignment with that. And, of course I don't want them to tell me too much stuff, right? I just like them to keep it general. Are you looking for clarity? Are you looking for direction? Those kind of things. Because I think for me, that just kind of sets the tone for where we need to go. And then, I just open myself up energetically, and then things just start coming through. And Mike, and when I tell you, I literally have no idea what's going to happen. There are times where I say stuff and stuff comes out and the person sitting across from me, they're like, how did you know that? I'm like, girl, I don't know.
I love that. I get asked this question, so I'm hoping you are okay with it. What is like a crazy story, or what is one that pops into your mind when I ask that question, as far as when you say something to a client and they're just like, holy hell, how the hell did you, what? Like what are a couple examples, or one example that kind of pops into your mind?
Yeah, you know what? I think one of my favorites was this client of mine, and her father had crossed over, and I had seen her a couple of times, but I'd never connected to her dad. In this one session, I was like, hey, I've got your dad here. And I'm like, here's his name, here's what he did. And she was a client of mine for a good couple of sessions at this point. And, she's like sitting there like, wow. But then I was like, but there's this woman that he keeps talking about. And like, she's reconnected with your mom. Well, like, it comes to find out that like, she had just found out that like, they were in like a throuple.
Classic.
And it's right, like average Tuesday. And so that was, that was just kind of funny. And one of those like, well, here it is kind of moments. Some of my favorite moments, just generally speaking, is when, someone comes into a reading, they don't really know what they're looking for. And we're able to kind of bring through some things for them that they didn't really know that they needed, or they didn't think was going to be possible to come through.
Okay. That's really good. So what are some common pushbacks or when someone comes to you, or I would imagine it would be someone who believes in loves your work, and then they recommend it to a friend who they think could use your services, and that person is just like opposed to it. They're just like, this is malarkey or whatever. And then they kind of convert, or they kind of like see a little bit of like, oh, how the hell, like what's an example of someone who has a stark change in perspective of what you do, from like, nope, don't believe it, to like, holy hell.
Yeah. You know what? Funny. It's actually like my parents.
Okay. Yeah.
They had so it's funny, like right with my parents. So like I came out at 14, and like that was already kind of a lot for them. But then, I'm like, oh, by the way, guys, I'm a psychic medium as well. And they were just like, oh, again.
Just dropping bombs on them.
Right. Left and right, And so, it's not that they didn't really believe in it. And then, and then I would share with them like client stories and things like that. And they're like, yeah, okay, sure. That's cool. But then I got like an email from a client who's, she lost her son, and she just sent some things just kind of validating what had been said in the reading. And they read this like email, and they were like, and it was a big email with a lot of detail, and I don't want to share too much, but they read it and they were like, wait, like, you knew all of that? And I was like, well, no, I didn't know it, but like it came through. So, I encourage skeptics. I think skepticism is super healthy, and just as a practitioner, I'm not really here to prove anything. I'm just here to help people. And so if somebody comes in with skepticism, I think it's great, because to me, you don't want to just go and believe what someone has to tell you. You need some discernment. I still like go into readings with like heavy discernment. But I think that's healthy, and that's good. So I welcome anyone that comes in with skepticism, but there's definitely been a couple of times. Another one was a girl bought a reading for her boyfriend, and he comes in and he was like this, like he had his arms crossed. Yep. And he was like, I don't believe in any of this. And I'm like, well, that's fine. Like, you don't have to. Like, then hey, I've already gotten paid, so we're just going to hang out for 30 minutes. And at that point, right? And, we were able to kind of break through some stuff. I'm still not sure if he was like totally convinced about mediumship. I think he was like kind of there, but really he was like, oh my gosh, I actually have been feeling kind of stuck, and you gave me some really great things to think about, to work on. And so to me, that's super rewarding.
Yeah, that perspective you can give, which is definitely different. Getting people in a different environment when they're there to talk to you, like they're, especially the ones that are like that guy with his arms crossed, right? He's clearly reluctant or skeptical, and so, but he's in a space where he's not used to it, and so he's uncomfortable and awkward, and it gets his brain thinking in different ways. So then when you start saying things, it makes sense that some of those things can be eye-opening, and like, wait a second, how does he know that? Or just another point of view on a topic that is relatable to his life. And he's like, yeah. So it's almost like a miniature form of like therapy in a sense, or like, yeah, another point of view. I love that.
Yeah. And I mean, and I look at it this way too. If somebody comes in, they like hate the rating, the worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to give them their money back. Like, that's literally the worst thing that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, it's a good fallback. Good to know that. That's awesome. And then, okay, so at 14, you came out. Is that the same time you said you told them that this is the area you're going to, or is that different time?
Well, Mike, we got to break it up a little bit. I got to give them some space, right? We can't hit them all at once. No, I did. I came out 14, and then they had always kind of known, like, I've always been into things that are kind of like witchy and the occult, and, and so it was actually really funny because when I told my mom, I told her back in 2020, and she was like, well, I mean, I can see it.
Sure.
I'm like, okay, that was great, Mom. Thanks.
Thank you for that. So then so I guess what made you realize or know that that's the route that you want to go, that you love and you want to pursue?
Do you know, Mike, those like moments in your life where there's like just like a split second, literally like a split second where you're like so sure of the path that you're on, and then something happens and you're like, well, just kidding, whole new path. I had one of those moments. It was during 2020. I had, like a lot of people, lost my job. I was sitting at home, and then I get on TikTok. I wasn't new to TikTok. I already had one, but it was like, it was like a thirst talk. I was like another guy in his mid-30s taking off a shirt, right? On an app for kids. And
Classic.
and then I get on one night, I'm on a live, and somebody was in the room. They're like, God, I've just had a really bad day. And I had some oracle cards next to me, and I grabbed them, and I was like, oh, I'll just read for you. And I'd been doing readings for like family and friends, but nobody really knew publicly that I did that. And then I started doing readings, and then all of a sudden, Mike, there were like over 1,000 people in the live. And for like a lot of creators, that's like not that big of a number. But for me, I'm like,
it's a lot.
Oh, yeah. I was like, what happened? And then I start getting messages like, do you do private readings? And I'm like, I can. And so
yes.
That was it. But like before that live, like, no way. And then after that live, I was like, holy smokes, like there's something here.
Yeah, 1,000 on TikTok. I haven't been live in a while, but I've never had 1,000 in the room when I went live. Like Ellie and I would do lives. We play Hangman, like 90s movie trivia Hangman games, and just for like 30, 40 minutes and just whatever. But yeah, at max maybe 200 on like a good time, usually like 50 or 60. But like 1,000, that's great. That means you got something interesting there. So did that help kind of kickstart business or grow it? Or
so like I'm a Virgo, and if you don't know what that means, I'm just super type A, and everything has to be perfect.
Sure.
And so like I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, like I'm setting up a website, and I'm putting together, a booking site and all of this jazz, and we're just going to make this look, really clean and professional. And so I went to work on it, and when I'm ignited about something, like I'm like a dog with a bone, and I'm just not dropping it. And so I just like worked all night. I put something together, and then I let people know like, hey, I'm taking bookings. And then like my books were just full. It was the wildest thing.
No, that's amazing. That's another success story from TikTok. I love hearing that. So when did you start posting regularly on TikTok?
So I started doing like the live readings, and then I was like, oh, I'll just do like little daily readings. And then, and then that's when things like really took off. I had at that point, like, I think 10,000 followers. And then from there, it just kind of grew, and it grew really, really fast. And now I'm at, over 455,000 followers, which is so cool. And I'm so excited about that. But for me, it's not necessarily about the number, it's about the service. And so just every time I put out a video or a little mini reading or a mini message, I just get so excited when I see, people reacting to it and commenting and saying like, oh my gosh, like I was having the worst day and I saw this video and it feels great. And I'm sure you can identify with that as well, because your videos are awesome. Yeah,
it does feel good to have people say that they're like, hey, I was having a cruddy day, and then I saw your video and it made me laugh because of XYZ. Like, yeah, it feels good to help people smile, right?
Yeah.
I do love that. So that's awesome. So you started, okay. So like for people that haven't seen your TikToks, what is like a typical bread and butter TikTok that you do, right? That people engage with and people like?
Yeah. Well, all of the reading videos are just around finding peace within self, loving who you are, being, okay if you're not okay. I mean, the topics just kind of range, and truthfully, it's random. I don't script anything. I just get on, take a couple of deep breaths. I'm like, well, Lord, just whatever comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And that's it. But usually the common thread of them is just that taking that journey back to self and taking that journey through healing and reconnecting with who we really are.
Yeah, I was just talking with someone yesterday about giving your brain some space to just be, right? And so like we're constantly connected to our phones, our computer, to people in person. If you're at work or a business or networking or whatever, and so like you're kind of constantly on, or you have the radio or your child or whatever. Because we're talking about like meditation a little bit and how we don't do it, but when we do activities that require you to be super present. So we were talking about swimming and running without your headphones. Like, I know. Or going to the gym with no headphones, kind of the same, kind of a similar idea. But an activity where all you can do is the thing in front of you and you have nothing to engage with. And so for us, it lets our brains breathe and like expand. And so like kind of what you're talking about, that self-work, looking inward, doing the work, it's, for me, it's like giving itself time to just think and be and like, expand. So I'm a big believer in that, giving your brain some time and some space to just take a second.
Yeah.
Look around, look inside, all the things. Back onto TikTok, 'cause I love that. I love how TikTok can help people grow their business. So do you do lives regularly?
Yes, but no. Yes, I'm getting back on the schedule of putting it back in my schedule of going live regularly, because I like talking and I like connecting, but my days get so full. So that is something that I'm trying to be more consciously aware of. I'm actually going to be live in a little bit, but so scheduling those in and doing that. But that's definitely something I'm working on, is being more regular with lives.
Yeah. And then how do you, so this is all kind of business questions now, because some of my audience is very business oriented. And how do you funnel people in, right? From viewing your TikToks down into to be a client, right?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, I at first, for me, it's been like an energetic thing and how I'm doing it energetically. So at first when I would post videos, I would be like, oh my gosh, I've got to post this video because this video has to get me 2 or 3 readings because I've got this goal to make, right? And like, I've been in sales my entire life. And I'm in business school currently as well. So, so I've definitely had to shift just a bit of that mindset. But, I used to post videos like, oh my gosh, this has to reach blah, 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 so many people. So that way I can get this many bookings. Blah, blah. And then I would just like drive myself insane. And you could totally tell the videos where it's like, I'm like, oh my God, please someone book a reading with me, right? And now it's more so I use TikTok as a way to tell stories. And I've started using TikTok just in a very different way. Before I used it as my funnel, but now I'm like, I'm just using this as a piece to tell a bigger story of what I'm doing. And that, funny enough, has like exploded my business. And I can actually tell like an actual shift of when I just decided to shift my mindset around TikTok and how I'm using it. Because I think if you look at TikTok as a business tool, it's a very powerful business tool, but people can smell the desperation.
Yep.
And storytelling and longer format videos and like a lot less editing and just showing up and sharing is getting a lot more traction than, cute, trendy dances, which I love. Right. And I watch them all day long. But, for me in doing this work and relating it back to kind of the healing journey is a story, and we all have a story. Yep. And so using TikTok that way is a way to not only tell my story, but share other people's stories as well and give people that space to kind of connect their stories has been really, really powerful, not only just for my business, but just me as a person.
Yeah. So this sounds very common to what I hear businesses struggle with, because part of my business that I do is I help companies and people, individuals, sales teams grow their TikTok accounts and their Instagram accounts. And it's really on what you just said, as far as when you made that shift to just storytelling. The way I hear that, I mean, I don't know exactly when you shifted, but I have an idea of you were making videos about your services prior, like, hey, this is what I do, aka it's kind of ad-like, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
To just being like selfless and serving and telling stories and like sharing information and insight, aka like value to the viewer.
Yeah.
Is that accurate or is that not? Am I wrong?
No, you're totally spot on.
And so just by sheer value, you're getting people to like inquire, and they click, I'm guessing in your link in bio, you have something, right? That you can click and fill out information, right? So I love that. Which videos get you the most views? You said like the inner work ones, the self-work.
Yeah.
Mindful. Like what's your most viral video?
Anything about manifesting relationships just ticks off. And I make people mad. Like, not the people, well, some of the people watching, like, especially other manifestation creators, because there's a lot of talk about manifestation, right? Like, that's such a hot buzzword right now. I actually think I saw you make a video about manifesting your partner in an airport, if I'm not mistaken, which was amazing.
Yeah, Taylor Swift, yeah.
So good, love it. But like, you know, there's a lot of talk about manifestation. There's one video that I made where I just straight up said, like, you cannot manifest someone into loving you.
No.
And right, I made a lot of people in the manifestation space just mad.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Because hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Yeah. But you know, anything with love, relationships, rising up from our challenges, those seem to be the ones that really, really get people the most.
Sounds like striking emotional chords or things that are very current in their lives, maybe is what it is. What are the comments you see on those ones mainly?
Thank you so much for being here. Oh my gosh, I'm totally going through this right now. This is a sign. Like, you know, like the, you know, this resonates. I get a lot of comments just about, you know, just being thankful to have seen it, heard it, put words to what someone was feeling. I always love it when that happens, you know, because there's times where we feel stuff, we don't really know the language for it, and then we see something and we're like, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point. And so where do you see TikTok going for you or for your business or for your life?
You know, TikTok has been such a great tool, and I don't see it. I see it just kind of continuing to help me tell my story and connect with people, and, you know, just allowing that to kind of unfold. The thing is that TikTok, it changes so much, and what people want to see changes so much. So, you know, I just kind of let myself be in the flow of evolving with it. And, you know, for as big of sometimes I'm my own worst enemy, except for when it comes to like my content. It's so funny because I'm like, well, people didn't like that, so we're just not going to do that again. And I'm not like really beating myself up for it, right? So I just change with as the algorithm changes. Yeah,
I love that. No, that's exactly right. It is different all the time. There's times where it pushes out certain videos, all the stuff. How, you know, staying consistent is what I've seen to help with everything. How often are you posting or not posting?
You know, now I post roughly 5 times a week.
Okay. Yeah.
Like 5 times a week feels good.
And you're still growing, and that's still doing all the tricks and it's helping grow your business and everything I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think I go through a lot of the typical things that some creators go through, where it's like, it'll be this massive surge, and then just, you know, it's a little dry for a little bit, and then surge again. And, you know, so I just ride that wave.
Yeah. Yep. That's kind of similar. And it's not linear. That's for sure. The name of this podcast is called What's Next. So one thing I like to ask is, for your clients, when they feel like they're stuck in a rut, the ones that come to you and are stuck in a rut, what is some advice you would give them or have given them to help them get started on their next step or how to get moving forward or through that barrier?
Yeah, be okay with being stuck. Be okay with being stuck, because when you're stuck, it means that we're ignoring something. It means that we're not paying attention to something that's going on internally. And so we're being gifted the chance to sit with that and to get honest with ourselves. I think sometimes what we do as people is, you know, we're told like, oh, be positive and keep your eyes forward, and that's all fine and great, right? But but that's not going to really help you when you're stuck. It's actually going to keep you more stuck. So really what I always recommend to anybody who's, kind of feeling stuck, but you want to get momentum forward, is just slow down and be right where you are, because you're there for a reason.
Right. Yeah, be more present. I do like that. And for yourself, what's you can share one or not, it's up to you, for an example of when you were stuck in a rut, or any kind of hurdle you had to go through, like what was your mindset during that hurdle, and how did you realize you were there and get through it?
So this actually came up super recently, and
Okay.
my therapist is going to be able to build a back deck now because of me. But no, Mike, I have struggled a long time with like self-confidence and
Yeah.
imposter syndrome, and all of those things, um what I hadn't really done was kind of ask, why do I struggle with confidence, or why do I feel like an imposter sometimes? And I've felt that through like my entire career. It's not just recently, right? But I think when you're on social media and a creator like that become like, you're just hit with it left and right, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, in working through my confidence, there were actually some things in my life from my past that I was like angry about, and it was keeping me so stuck. And it wasn't until like I sat and dealt with some of that stuff that had happened, that had affected my confidence from like a super young age,
Mm-hmm.
that when I sat with it, I got just really honest about it, and I wasn't trying to like love and light my way out of it or find, the better path. I was just like, you know what? That really sucked that happened. And that was awful, and it shouldn't have happened, and it wasn't my fault. And I just went through this whole thing. And then, then I got unwedged. And then I was like, you know what though? But my life has actually turned out really great. And like, I've got my back, and it doesn't really matter what other people think. One of my favorite quotes from Wayne Dyer is that if you talk to 30 different people, you're going to have 30 different reputations. And so, and kind of where I came through that was, like, at the end of the day, my happiness and my future is really up to me. And so, I'm either going to stay stuck in the past on a loop and keep beating myself up and feeling really icky about myself, or I'm going to sit with those feelings, release them, and then move forward, because there's a whole big exciting world out there and a really great career for me out there, that like I'm pinning my own feet to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got real with that has done so many, that has just unlocked so many amazing things for me in my life.
I love that. That is very insightful. I love that. The 30 different people, 30 different perspectives on yourself. So like reputations, that's so accurate. You're perceived however, you don't even know how you're perceived, and it doesn't matter to a degree. That's great. So then what's next for you? For TikTok, for business, for life? What is happening?
Well, I'm always writing out the manifestation list, and what do I want,
What do you
And
want?
yeah, you know what? I'm ready to, I want to do platform mediumship.
Okay.
I want to do a little tour, but I also want to write a book on relationships and connecting to yourself, and healing, and how that can help us just kind of be in healthy, happy relationships.
What's your next step for both those things?
Well, I'm working on the draft of the book, which is
There we
very
go.
exciting. I'm talking to friends and just kind of going through some of like their dating stories and things like that, which is great.
Okay.
And then, platform mediumship, I've made some really amazing friends, just in various sects of the entertainment industry. And so I literally have just started asking. I'm in my fuck around and find out era, Mike. And
There you go.
so, like, well, and it's funny because I was actually sitting on my couch in my parents' house. I was visiting them. And then, I saw that you had a podcast, and I was like, you know what? I really like that guy, and I like his content. You know what I'm going to do tonight? I'm just going to email his assistant and be like, hey, does Mike want me to be a guest on his show? And here we are. So what I'm
Yeah.
doing next, Mike, is I'm just taking those big steps. What's like literally the worst thing that can happen is somebody says no.
That is everything. I love asking that question to people, especially in person. because they can't hide.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's not an intrusive personal, I'm not trying to poke any bears or anything like that. I'm just trying to, you know, hey, what do you want to do next? Like, do you like where you're at? Awesome. That's great. AK, I'm trying to help people. Just like, I like knowing what makes them happy, and I like them knowing what makes them happy, right? Because then they can do what they want or stop doing what they don't like. And I love asking the question of like, well, cool, what's the next step to do that thing you want, that goal? I've always wanted to start a business. Awesome. What kind of business? Well, like this kind. Cool.
Yeah.
Like, what's your next step? I never thought about it. Cool. Think about it. What's your next step? You know, like, because for me, it's just like a bias for action, and I see people get that fire under their butt and in their eyes when they're like, well, dang, like, I guess I could just start. I could probably get a website. I have a friend who, oh, cool, you got a friend who knows, perfect. You can start. Yeah, that's awesome. Like, so I love hearing that. I love that you didn't shy away from that question. And I highlight that for anyone listening, that it's, you know, what do you want to do? Like, write those 5 things, or write that one thing down, or those 10 things down, and narrow it down, and just start going towards something, right? Like you said yourself, you will focus on one thing, and then all of a sudden there's a moment in time where you're just like, boop, shift my little thinking, I'm gonna go this way now, then boop, boop, that way. That is so accurate for any like entrepreneur, or just anyone who is okay with failure, anyone who is just searching for what they want, as opposed to like, oh, I'll start that someday, or I'll do that when it's perfect, or when the timing's just right. Like, the timing is never perfect, guys. Like, just freaking go for it. You're not going to know if you like that thing until you start traveling down that path far enough to know. And I don't know how far down that path you have to go to figure out you like it or don't, but it's further than where you're at currently. I know that. So, thanks for sharing that. So, I have no other questions. Do you have any questions for me? Let's turn the tables.
My gosh. You know, what's next for you, Mike?
I am living it. I'm doing it. I have a business partner I'm working with, Danelle Delgado, and we are building a training company for personal development, team development, social media help for large sales teams and organizations. It's called Team Engage, and we help teams work better and engage with their people, engage with their clients, and just be better versions of themselves to reach the goals they want personally, professionally, and for the company, right? So that is what I'm working on. I'm getting texts like right now as we're talking. I see it like on my screen pop up here. So I'm like ignore. I'm focused. I got to do one thing at a time and be very present. So that's what I'm working on, and I am super excited for 2023. It's not the content you see on my page, but that has a lot to do with how 2023 is going, right? So, which is like a kind of mystic foreshadowing.
I know nothing about that.
It's like, I'm not trying to be weird or like shifty, but just like, yeah, it's team development, personal development, social media help, corporate B2B, but typically companies that have large sales teams and organizations. So it's a real big thing, and I'm super excited. And I never would have gotten to this point or had this opportunity to swing the bat at these types of deals had I not just opened up the TikTok app. Number one, I took a leap of faith from like W-2 income, secure pension, to sales-based commissioned mortgage world, right? Which is where my account started as Mortgage Mike. And like that leap of faith was one thing. And then I started doing videos, and then I started doing interviews, and blah, 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 blah. And then here I am talking to you. And then I'm doing a business with some very high-powered business woman who is crushing it in life. So take the path, guys. Do what you want. Travel down the path. Go full speed. Nothing held back. We're all going to die one day. Have some fun before you do
it. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on here. I love the insight. Where can people find you, or what's your website?
You can find me at travisholp.com and Travis Warrior Unicorn on TikTok and Instagram.
Boom. Book a session. See what you don't know is coming in front of your life in the next little bit. Go say hi, comment, like, share his content, book gift cards and all the things. Send him money. All right. Well, I appreciate your time, Travis.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.